Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Welcome to another episode of Airgun Detectives. I'm your host, JC, and today I got something new for you. We're going to take the mystery out of a Gunsan, yes, you heard that, Gunsan PCP rifle. Brand new company, but before we get into this, do me a favor, if you hadn't already, hit that little subscribe button down below. It doesn't cost you anything, it's absolutely free, but it really helps support the channel, so I would appreciate that. If you want to be notified any new videos that comes out, make sure you hit that little bell, and we always love to hear your feedback. Don't forget to check out my website at www.airgundetectives.com. That's where I have the Generation 2 bipods, which are actually doing quite well. In addition to that, I've got t-shirts and some other stuff on there, but just check out the website. Alright, let's get back to our new product here. Gunsan. G-U-N-S-A-N. Yes, Gunsan. New company out of Tennessee. Anyway, they reached out to me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in reviewing one of their guns. And I said, absolutely. A little background on these guys. They're really young. I say young compared to me. They're in their 20s. And they just started this company in 2020, but they actually started selling the air rifles about a month ago because they're going through, you know, trial and errors like any other type of business, putting things together. So Gunsan, actually, it's kind of funny how the name came up. The owners of the company, the first three letters of their last name, one of them is G-U-N, and the other is S-A-N, and you put it together and it's Gunsan, and that's where Gunsan came from. So anyway, this is the case that the rifles come in. It's a nice little plastic padded case. Yes, the suspension's killing you to see this gun, I know. So let's show you what this gun comes with. Here we are. This is the ASYA model, A-S-Y-A. If I butcher some of these names, I absolutely apologize. I'm going to try not to butcher these names as much as I can. But anyway, this is the ASYA model. They all come in .22 caliber. They all come with a plastic case. Let's get this out of the way for now, though. They have a total of 4 models right now. The one you see in front, the ASYA, they have a, I'm telling you, these names are tough. A Gelibolu, it's G-E-L-I-B-O-L-U. They have an ALP and an ATA. Those are all the different guns that they actually have. They all come in .22 caliber. They each come with 2 magazines. These are the little 10-round rotating type magazines. And they're actually pretty cool. And then they come with a little quick release Foster fitting that you can set up with their probe. It also comes with a probe. So, like I said, they have a total of 4 models. They sent this one to me. They have a 300cc cylinder, so it holds 300 cc's of air. They're non-regulated. Gun weighs about 7 pounds. It's got about a 22-inch barrel on it. They're a 200 bar fill, which is kind of nice because you're seeing this, a lot of these airgun companies go to the higher pressure, and it's kind of just a more pain to fill something up that's much higher than that. These also have a combination 11mm and a Picatinny rail, so you can put either one on that, either one you would like. This particular model has it's the Turkish walnut here, but it also has a folding stock. See this? So it's got a folding stock. That's good for, you know, you want to take that hiking or something, you want to pack it up. Anyway, it takes, you know, you put it in a smaller case that way. But it's pretty cool. And this is also adjustable for height. As far as the cheek rest goes, you can just adjust that however you set that up. These have a manual safety right here. Manual safety. Even left-handed, I can work it with my thumb. I just move my thumb over, which is great. These have a side lever. I'll show you that real quick. There's a side lever here, which is right here. You simply just pull it back. Magazine will go in here. I'll show you how to do that. Yes, and these can even be decocked. Let me demonstrate that for you. So we actually cock it here. Just hold the trigger down, hold onto the arm, slide it forward. Magazines, they go in this real easy. There's a, you can see there's a little groove in them. The groove just slides this direction in, snaps in position, and you're good to go. That's it. But yeah, 10 round magazines. These guys are like a new and growing company. There wasn't a lot of stats as far as the performance on these guns, so we really don't know. But guess what? That's why I'm here for you guys, because I'm going to show you how well these perform. And we'll take it through our usual test, and maybe even do a couple other little things with it, so we'll see. So stay tuned for the next segment. Let's see how well our Gunsan ASYA does over the chronograph. We're just going to do a Crossman, a 14.3 gram pellet over the chrony. Just 5 shots, just kind of give you an idea, because that's a pretty common pellet. But then afterwards I'm going to tell you what the results were with a couple of the H&N, the slug hollow points. These are quite the performers, and I'm going to tell you exactly what those velocities are. But I'm going to do this one for you live. We'll do 5 of these. Alright, shot number 1. 969. Shot number 2. 965. Shot number 3. 973. Shot number 4. 968. And shot number 5. 964. There you go. There's your 5 shots over the chrony. There's your average foot-pounds of energy. Now I want to tell you real quick. These H&N slugs are quite the performers. These are the hollow points. Okay, so what works best in this is the 21 grain and the 23 grain. In fact, I thought the 23 grain just kind of had an edge. So what we averaged on the 21 grain slug hollow points was 785 feet per second, and it gave us 28.7 foot-pounds of energy out of the muzzle. Okay, then we tried the 23 grain slug hollow points, and what we got out of those was average of 754 feet per second and a full 29 foot-pounds of energy coming out of the barrel. So that's pretty good stuff. But we'll show you a little bit more how those performed in the next segment. Let's test out our Gunsan with a little accuracy. We're going to use today, we're going to use the H&N slug hollow points. These are a 23 grain hollow point. These by far outperformed everything. This thing is not overly pellet picky. You can use a cheap Crossman 14.3 and it shoots fine with it. These are just really precise, and I'll show you. And then I have a special little segment for you right after this one, so it'll be a little bit different. Anyway, I want to thank Splatterburst for supplying our targets once again. I'll leave a link below if you guys are interested in them. They're a lot of fun. You can really see where your impact is on those. So we're at our usual 60 feet, 20 yards. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at that right there. All right, let's get to shooting here. All right, there's your 5 shots. That's not too bad of a group. All right, let's move on to the special segment. Okay, let's try our Gunsan at a little farther distance here, just for fun. We're going to be shooting our same 23 grain H&N slugs. I had to go through a lot of trouble to set this up. I'm basically shooting through a construction site and kind of going through a gated area back into the back part of my yard. So we're right around 45 yards, real close to that. So let's see how well this groups. We are putting up with a little bit of wind, but anyway, go ahead, take a look at where we're shooting from. All right, let's do some shooting here. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. 4, one more. 5. I would say that is a pretty impressive group, especially for a little windy day here in a non-regulated PCP. All right, let's move on to the next segment. We're going to do a little trigger test here. These triggers are fully adjustable. You just have to take the stock off. There's a couple of screws. We'll take a look at this picture. Anyway, similar kind of to the Kratos and the other, not exactly the same, but you can adjust it for pull weight and length of pull. So you can actually adjust both of those. So I went ahead and played with this a little bit because I wanted to lighten it up. So let's see where we're breaking at. So we got our trusty Lyman trigger gauge here. We are ready, so let's see how we do. Okay, that's 1 pound. 1 pound and 5/10 of an ounce. So I got this set breaking at about 1 pound. Which actually, in the beginning, the trigger was just a little bit on the gritty side, and then I put about 300 rounds through this, and then it actually smoothed out actually quite well. And as you see, it's breaking at 1 pound. So the trigger is fully adjustable. All right, let's move on to the next segment. All right, guys, as always, my most favorite part of the review is doing the plinking because we actually get to knock some stuff over. So we're going to go ahead and use the H&Ns, the slugs, because they've been performing terrific in these. We're going to use the 23 grain ones. They have a 25 grain for this, 21. There's a few different weights. This one seems to like the 23 and the 21s quite well. So we're at our usual distance. Go ahead and take a look. You can see we got a few little metal targets along with a pellet can and a shotgun shell up there. We're going to go ahead and see if we can knock those down. And then we'll move on to our next segment. Let's start with the shotgun shell. I'd say that's a hit. And let's go with the metal can right there. Yeah, that's definitely a hit. And the little egg to the right there. Yep. And let's see how it does on the heavier items. Ah, got a little misfeed there. That's my fault. All right. There we go. And there's a little piggy. There we go. Yeah, this thing is pretty doggone accurate. All right, let's move on to the next segment. All right, now that was a lot of fun. So let's wrap this up with our conclusion here. Yeah, this was enjoyable. How well did it perform? Actually, I think it did really, really well. Like anything else though, any gun that we look at and we review, just give you the straightforward, honest opinion on it. So, let's start out with the negatives on this thing. What are my negatives? By the way, don't ask me about this scope. I've had it for years. I think I bought it off of eBay. Glass etch reticle. They don't make it anymore. So I'm not going to leave a link for it because it doesn't exist anymore. So anyway, let's move on from that. So a couple negatives that I have on this. If you'll notice the, let's move this out of the way for a second. Okay. If you'll notice the fill port area right here. That little fill port where a probe goes in, just like this. Probe goes in there. I wish there was some type of cover for that, because especially if you take this out in the field, you do some hunting with it. That's open to the elements there. That's open to the elements. So I would like to see maybe a little cover for the fill portion. In addition to that, I talked to Rasul, the owner, and not so much on this model, because if you'll notice the front of this barrel, it rests basically on the fill tube here, so it's really pretty solid in the position. But I noticed a couple of his other models, they could use barrel bands, and the reason I like the barrel band so much, in case you drop the gun, you bump it, it keeps that barrel extra secure. And that's a lot for the hunters out there. So they're so receptive, because I said they're young and up incoming company, so they want to try to do everything right, and everything is trial and error. It's a process. So he was very receptive to suggestions on some of this stuff. So this is a non-regulated gun, so it's got a pretty heavy ping sound when you're firing it, and you guys know what I mean that have had PCPs. It's just the sound inside here. It gives a bing, bing each time you fire it. Am I picky? Yeah, but that's what you guys want me to be, is picky. Also, what else on this? The finish could be a little bit better, in my opinion, for this price range, because these average between $500 and $550. The walnut's nice. I like that. But let's talk more about the positives. The positives, so the negatives were pretty limited as far as that goes. The positives, I love the fact it has a 300cc air chamber. It's very frugal on air. It really is. Also, if I didn't cover this, guys, it has a 1/2x20 threaded barrel here, so you can actually, because these can be a bit loud in the backyard, depends on what you're shooting. When we're shooting the slugs, it was pretty quiet. But if you shoot a little lighter round, it's going to be much more, have a little more spank to it. So, but this is nice because you can put one of these compensators on the end of it, and this thing is really, really quiet. I mean, you hear more of the mechanism than you hear the round or the round hitting. So, but that's a nice option they put on here. So it's got the 1/2x20, the UNF thread on it, which is specific to the air rifles. So that's kind of a neat plus there. But like we talked about, frugal on air. You get, and I charted this out for you guys because I went through, I filled this thing up at 3,000 PSI and I shot it all the way down. And here's a little chart that represents that. So keep in mind, we got 90 shots total out of it. And I consider those usable shots where you're plinking with cans or doing whatever. You got 90 shots to play with. Now, the sweet spot, if you look at the power curve, how this power curve goes, the sweet spot, that's pretty interesting. So that was shot 18 through shot 78. We got 60 really good shots at 983 feet per second, and we averaged 30 foot-pounds of energy. And we tested those just with the Crossman 14.3 grain, because honestly I didn't want to waste 90 slugs just going through the chrono. So we used the 14.3 grains. But the rifle it was quite the performer if you think about it. It really, really liked the slugs, and those are the H&N slugs. And if you guys didn't know, the H&N slugs, they have them in 22 and 25 caliber, but the 22 caliber one's pretty amazing. They have the 21 grain, 23 grain, 25 grain, and a 27 grain. You can see the differences in those. There is a trick to loading these in the magazine. I'm going to show you that real quick, because these magazines, I really do like the magazines. They're very, very easy loading. They rotate very simple, but I'm going to show you just an easy task. So if we took our little slugs here, and you drop one in, notice there's no taper on the back of a slug. It actually resembles more of a real type of bullet that goes into a shell. And if you think about it, yeah, 'cause what's the difference between a rimfire and an airfire? Once the round is in the barrel, it's left either the cartridge or it's left the air chamber. So now they're kind of duplicating these, and they actually look more like typical rounds. And you see how well they perform. Okay, so what you do is you drop these in, and you want to just push these in and get something to seat them just a little bit. You just want to push them just past, not too far, because see, you'll push it all the way through. But when you put these in here, you just want to seat these just a little bit, and then rotate it, obviously, and go to the next one. But you just want to push them down just a little bit, and then they feed really, really nice. And I learned that by going through this process, just shooting them. Just a little bit of recess, that's all you want in there. And then just rotate, 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 and get your 10 rounds. But these slugs, they're pretty amazing. I was totally impressed. In fact, you know how I was telling you guys in the past that a heavier round downrange is going to give you more foot-pounds of energy because it has a tendency to slow down less. So I did a comparison. When I was shooting over 40 yards, I threw the chrono out there. And I shot a Crossman Premier, a 14.3 grain. So it hit about 780 feet per second, which gave us 19 foot-pounds of energy at 40 plus yards. So when that pellet's hitting 40 plus yards away, you're getting 19 pounds of energy. Well, we went with a 23 grain slug. It shot 700 feet per second. In other words, that was the velocity at 40 plus yards when it's hitting 700. Gave us 25 foot-pounds of energy. The larger round has a tendency to slow down less. So keep this in mind. So the Crossman, from the actual barrel to 40 yards, lost 200 feet per second because it's that lighter projectile. Our slug, our 23 grain slug, only lost 85 feet per second in 40 yards. So you gotta like that. I mean, that's seriously, that's quite the performance. So our accuracy, I thought, was really good. We got our 0.29 inch center to center with our slugs. That was at 20 yards, and then when we kicked it out over 40 yards with the 23 grain slugs, where we get 0.63 of an inch in a 5-shot group. So those slugs are, especially distance-wise, they make a huge difference. Now keep in mind, this is not overly pellet picky. So you can shoot even the cheap Crossman Premiers out of it, and they actually do pretty decent. So overall, yeah, I'd say this gun performed pretty well. The trigger, I talked about that. It's fully adjustable. It was a little bit gritty when I first started with it, but I put about 300 rounds through this when I was done, and it really smoothed out. But it's an easy adjustment. I showed you guys that, or I showed you actually a little photo of that during the trigger test. And I have it breaking right around 1 pound now, so that's pretty awesome. Yeah, so overall, I would say this Gunsan guys, they're on the right track. They're coming up with some pretty cool products. How would I rate this gun overall? Well, just because of the few little negatives we have, we're going to give this 4 stars right now. We're going to give it 4 stars. And I think it's well deserved, and I think that rating could go up really easy just with some minor little adjustments. And I'll be honest with you, I am excited, and I hope that I get to try out another one of their products here in the future, because this was a lot of fun. I had a good time with this. It's always nice to see a new airgun hit the market, or a new company hit the market, because a little bit different perspectives, little changes here, and they're obviously doing this right. They got the right hammer spring set up with this and the whole bit, because we're getting some good velocity, and we're also getting quite a few shots. Like I said, it was pretty frugal. So again, thank you for tuning in for this episode of Airgun Detectives. Don't forget, this is where we take the mystery out of the airgun. I hope you and your families are safe, happy, and doing lots of shooting. So until next time, take care.